All right, so today we're going to be taking a look at a new piece of software. It's called Manus. It's basically an AI agent that has access to a lot of tools, like being able to use a web browser, read and write files, do some coding with a coding language of your choice, and it's been out for a couple of days. It's invite only currently, so I wanted to just go ahead and show how to use the alternative, which is actually the made by the same group, the Meta GPT guys, and it's called Openmanus. But first, I'm gonna just kind of review some of the things that they're saying that it can do well enough to, you know, be worth trying out. So we have a trip to Japan, analyze Tesla stock, interactive course, like making a course on something, and a couple other things that it seems to have been able to do. So if you like go and click on one of these, you can see a replay of how it came to the conclusion of whatever it actually came up with from just thinking and taking actions on whatever the goal is. But yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's something that I'm going to definitely use. I've been playing around with a lot of browser use, like making an AI agent that just uses the browser, and I feel like this is a natural progression of what I'm already doing. So I'm just basically going to try to integrate this into my workflow. And basically, you can see here it went ahead and found all the businesses on Y Combinator, compiled them into a nice little list, and it looks great. But yeah, we're going to be working on using this instead of having to use closed source models like Google Gemini, Claude 3.7, or OpenAI's GPT-4. We're going to try to run this using Ollama and then having an open source model of your choice and then run it on your GPU. So to do that, we're going to need to install this software. So first you want to go ahead and go to Google. And you want to look for Openmanus. Openmanus. This name is terrible, guys. I'm sorry that you have to hear me say that. But it's going to be this first one here. And this is where the GitHub is, where you're going to download the actual stuff for the program. Obviously, there's, take your own discretion, read through this code if you want to make sure that's, nothing weird or anything that's going to be a problem for you. But just make sure you're okay with downloading this. Next, we're going to need to install some things. I'm going to go ahead and delete something really quick because I recorded this video already and managed to mess it up. So just delete that. So now we need to go ahead and first you're going to have to figure out like what your OS is, right? If you're on Linux, you can just follow along. If you're on Mac, it probably should work exactly the same. But if you're on Windows, you're going to need to do things a little differently, but it'll all have the same results. So I'm in the downloads folder of my computer. Well, now I'm not because for some reason it didn't like that. All right, now I'm in downloads. I'm going to go ahead and take the repository and clone it. Sorry about that. I'm going to clone it, and then I'm going to go into the folder of whatever is created when it's done. That's just this first or second the second line here where we're just installing, and I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Sorry. This is method 1. You can use Conda. I'm not using Conda. I'm using UV, and I'm just following along with the second method here. This is just to install the package manager that they use. I already installed it, but if you don't have it installed, just go ahead and grab it like so. Pop it into whatever folder you want to install this. It's not going to do anything for me because I already have that installed. UV, I think, comes pre-installed on my Linux distribution. All right, so next we would clone it, which we've already done. Next, we need to basically start an environment, like activate the environment. So I'm going to put in these 2 lines here. Oh, I just realized I don't need all these extra parts here. All right, so what's going to happen here is it's going to start an environment. And I just realized that I'm already actually in the environment, but what you would do is just take this green text here on my screen. It might be a different color for you. I don't know what kind of OS you're using, but then you're going to just type this in, and that'll start your environment. And when you'll know it's started when you see Openmanus over here before your like computer's name and everything. Now, after that, we should be able to go ahead and install the requirements. For me, it's not going to do anything whenever I do this because I've got this installed somewhere else on my computer. But it's going to take a while for you probably. So just let this go ahead and install, and then it's going to grab all these particular dependencies. While you're waiting for that to happen on your side, you want to go ahead and go into the file structure of that the program that you just downloaded, and you want to look for config, because we need to basically set up our environment variables so that everything will work correctly. And to get this working correctly, we need to, instead of have it say config example toml, we need to just take out the dot example, so it just says config to ml, right? From here, whatever we do inside that file, which I have open right here, is going to actually be used by the code to try and use your model, because we're basically just setting whatever LLM we want to use. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and in our case, we're just going to use Ollama. Instead of like messing around with this, I have a pre-configured one in the actual installation I have in a different spot. So I'm going to go over to that, open that config as well, and I'll just show you what you need to change so that you can get it working on your side. So I'm going to be using Qwen 2.5 coder, 14 billion parameters, and then you need to set your endpoint to this for Ollama, which is the default endpoint. If you've got it set up on another computer and you have like a different IP address, then this won't be the same. But if it's just like your default, you haven't changed anything, just go ahead and use this. And then if you have it set up just like normally, you won't have an API key that you need to use unless you've like requested to use that, but it won't let you run the program if it's empty. So you need to put something in here. I just wrote Ollama. It helps me remember what the model I'm using is. So I'm actually just going to copy and paste this whole section into the other file, and that'll change everything to be the same. I also see that they've updated the code base in like the one day that I've had this installed, so now it looks a little different in this file compared to my version here. But ultimately, it'll work out. I just realized I exposed my Google key, but it's my free key. I'm not going to lose any money off this. It'll be fun. So now that we have the environment variable set, we're going to go ahead and save. I'm going to close this since we don't need it. That's for the version I need to update. And now that we have our environment variable set up correctly, we want to go back to the terminal where we have the environment set up. So now we can try and run the program. I'm going to ls. This will just show you the files that are in here so you can see what you're dealing with. And we want to run main.py. This is the one that we need to run. Since it's a .py, we need to use Python. And then we run it. Go ahead and open up. From here, we can go ahead and tell it to do something. I'm going to tell it to just go to reddit.com and wait. Uh-oh. Okay, so I went ahead and just reverted back to using the installation I had that was already working instead of just going through the install from the beginning like I had done with you guys. And I don't know if it's still not working or not, but we're going to see. Yeah, something they've changed about the code base has caused my code to not work. I don't know what that is, but ultimately the way you set it up is still going to be exactly the same. As long as you can go ahead and get that bug sorted, you should be good to go. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be someone over here in the issues that's talked about it. And okay, it looks like it used the wrong tool. It used the Google search tool and found some links to to Reddit, like the website, but it didn't go to Reddit with a browser, which was the whole goal of what we were trying to ask it to do. And that's because I didn't type in go to Reddit. I typed in just the word reddit.com, or you know, the website URL. So I'm gonna probably end up cutting this out, but once we see that it's done, I might even kill it, because it does take forever to finish what it's doing whenever you give it a tasks right now. It's not very good. I genuinely don't think the software is that good, the open source version versus the closed source version. At least with the closed source version, it doesn't seem like it's wasting a lot of its time trying to do things we didn't ask, where in this case I just told it to go to reddit.com, or I just typed in reddit.com, and it's doing like a bunch of other things. I think it has lots of potential to do just like assistant things, like your own Jarvis or Alfred type of thing, where it's like, hey, open Spotify. I think that's where it's probably going to be really powerful once people can get the agent to kind of, do the right things at the right times, because right now it's obviously not. I'm going to go ahead and kill it. I'm going to try it one more time because it's obviously working. All right, go to reddit.com. I already have the model loaded up, so it shouldn't take too long for it to actually do something. All right, it's activating my browser, and now it's going to Reddit. So yeah, it works just fine. It just needs to have pretty clear instructions that I don't understand yet, but this is perfectly okay for the scope of this video. Hopefully this helps anyone's trying to get it set up on Ollama. Those are the core things you're going to need to interact with to get it working. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.